Hello and welcome to the news in our top stories this half hour. Movers and shakers in the Gambia's tourism industry set their sight on a progressive 2015-2016 season, almost a year since the Ebola outbreak in few sub-regional countries sent ripples even in countries that were Ebola-free. Value addition of goods and services gains prominence at a conclave for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in Mansakonko, Lower River region. French, British and German foreign ministers met last night to devise a plan seeking to end the Syrian civil war. But the role of Russia in the factional conflict proves a major sticking point for the European powers. And Swiss authorities opened criminal proceedings against FIFA President Sepp Blatter, suspicion of mismanagement and misappropriation, as UEFA chief Michel Platini also faces interrogation for a 2 million Swiss franc disloyalty payment allegedly made to him by Mr. Blatter. Well, those are your headlines with me, Winifred Nicol. Thanks for joining us. Celebrations marking Eid al-Adha or Tobaski usually last for 2 days here in the Gambia, characterized by the preparation of sumptuous dishes, exchange of pleasantries and benevolence towards one another. Well, a day after the slaughtering of sacrificial rams, our H.N. Silva went and about to see how the faithful have been observing the Tobaski.
The Muslim feast of Eid al-Adha comes every year. And during this very important event in the Islamic calendar, an estimated 1.5 billion Muslims the world over perform their spiritual obligation to God and exchange pleasantries in addition to showing benevolence to one another. Like other feasts, this year's Eid, also known on the home front as Tobaski, is also another memorable one to many Muslim faithfuls.
It's a great day on the Muslim calendar. Yesterday, definitely, I was very pleased to gather with my people, the inhabitants of Banjul, and the president, the first citizen of the country, that we share together and celebrate this occasion, which you know is a joyful occasion.
During yesterday's feast of Eid, tens of thousands of Muslims flocked to mosques across the country to perform the traditional Turaka congregational prayers, which were later followed by other religious injunctions like the slaughtering of sacrificial rams, which is central to the feast. Binta Jame Sidibe was part of that congregation of hundreds of thousands of Gambian Muslims who observed the Eid al-Adha with their loved ones.
Tobaski, as you know, it is celebrated by people going first and foremost to the mosque to pray with the imam, which I did with my husband and my children and grandchildren. And I praise God too that I've been able to be, God has blessed me with children and grandchildren and my husband to be able to celebrate together. As you know, in Gambia we have the wider extended family. I have some nieces here, cousins, sisters, and we all celebrate it together. The first thing I do after performing the Eid, we travel to Banjul to visit my mother and ensure that she has slaughtered her ram.
She believes the feast, which is one of the most important festivities in the Muslim world, should always be celebrated with the idea of unity, caring and sharing on the home fronts.
Islam has not really changed our cultural values. So our cultural values, which I would talk about, is about peace, about unity, about caring, about sharing, about being the oneness of the people. So that is something that is even culture.
The executive director of the Women's Bureau and Mayor Laiba were not the only ones who had a blissful celebration yesterday. Like many others, the Minister of Trade, Regional Integration and Employment, Abdullah Job, too, had an enjoyable day from the build-up to the feast until the sad news of that fatal stampede in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where more than 700 out of 2 million Muslim pilgrims lost their lives.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a sad event, but everything happens, because it's destined to happen by Allah. We pray for all those people that have lost their life, that they rest in peace. And I do hope that the Saudi authorities will learn from whatever mistake caused the incident.
But Job was equally grateful to livestock dealers for the unprecedented availability of rams in the markets.
I think there is ample evidence that there was enough to the extent that that competition forced prices down. And we have to also commend His Excellency the President. You heard in his statement that the government took very proactive and responsible decision under his leadership to waive all taxes and duties leading to the Tobaski for the livestock.
The trio profusely thanked the Gambian leader for the benevolence he manifested to less fortunate Muslims by selling his rams at prices so cheap and affordable to all and sundry.
The president has been able to make rams affordable for the average husband to be able to buy even 2 or 3, and then also to give us chance. People have been employed. We have our sons. Like for myself, my son bought my ram for me, and then bought for his father, and then for my mother. So that is also making it possible because he has built up the university and people are being educated and becoming, more affluent to be able to do that.
Just see what he have done. Over 2,000 rams were at the July 22nd. With the cost of selling, the highest was $7,000. The one I bought before his ram was at the July 22nd was about $8,000, $9,000. What a difference. I am praying for him, to be candid. I am praying for him. And I am quite sure that the people of Banjul will cooperate and rally behind him.
While most Muslims here in the Gambia bask in the glory of these festive occasions in the comfort of their homes, it is a different scenario for those that are bedridden in hospitals. Etienne Silva, GRTS News.
And over now to news just in. Many pilgrims have performed their second part of Jamra as early as 6:30 this morning. They are now poised for the third and final part early Saturday morning at 3 a.m. before they proceed to Makkah for the final and farewell tawaf of the Kaaba. According to officials, the first flight of Gambian pilgrims will leave for the airport Saturday night. Our reporter Mama J will give us more update on the fate of the few missing Gambian pilgrims as she seeks clear information on their status from Gambian authorities. Population intertwined, such that one can hardly be discussed without talking about the other. In that light, Amadou Bajan reflects on the salient issues highlighted by the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs during this year's World Population Day, including the challenges facing government when it comes to issues revolving around population matters, whilst opportunities for women and youth.
It hangs on the shoulders of governments to protect their citizenry in numerous facets, but this may even be more required of women and youth. And although the Gambia government has registered numerous gains in tranquilizing such, the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Her Excellency Aja Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi, recently disclosed that the Gambia is equally challenged with the protection of her vulnerable inhabitants, highlighting population increase among the stumbling blocks.
The Gambia, like any other developing country, continues, of course, to face challenges in its efforts to protect vulnerable populations in emergencies. Key among these include the increasing population rise and density in our country and the size of the population in summary, of our urban centers in particular and growth centers, impacting pressure on the land and other resources. This means that we must continue to provide more social services and amenities for the population. Increasing population density has forced many to settle in flood-prone and low-lying settlements.
When Her Excellency the Vice President gave that standpoint in relation to government's challenges in mitigating vulnerabilities of her populace, she quickly tabled the Presidency's efforts in protecting the country's youth folk and women in particular from unpleasant issues, among them human trafficking, domestic violence, as well as child sex tourism.
In addition, the government of the Gambia protects women and girls in a number of policies as well as legislation, notably the Women's Empowerment and Gender Policies and the Sexual and Domestic Violence Acts and the Child Sex Tourism Act, among others. Cognizant of the fact that women and girls, particularly women and children as a whole, are the ones often targeted by human traffickers, the government established the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons under the Minister of Justice to serve as a watchdog against human trafficking.
The country's number 2 did not stop at that. Madam Jai said he went on with policies, charters and protocols which government is optimizing so as to meaningfully engage and better young people's lives. These, she added, are in place amidst forcing development bottlenecks.
In furtherance of its commitment to the welfare of young people, the government of the Gambia has signed charters, protocols, agreements globally that advance the agenda of providing comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights for all young people, improving, of course, their employability as well and productivity, and meaningfully engaging them at all levels of decision-making in society. In view of the emerging development challenges that we face, the Gambia government has placed women and children high on its development agenda in a number of policies and pronouncements, of course. Key among these were the development of a reproductive health, gender and population policies and the introduction of free maternal care for pregnant women in all government health facilities.
Considering the Gambia's peace and stability alongside recognition of our food security endeavors, taking due consideration in the development and empowerment of the country's women and youth folk should be in continuity. Hence, this may be more than essential in the Gambia's aspirations of a moderate economic status in the nearing years. Modu Bajan reporting for GRTS News.
Value addition of goods and services was the subject of a conclave for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in the Lower River region. The forum, held at the Regional Education Directorate in Mansakonko, sought to create a platform where the participants can share experiences as committed businessmen in the industry. Babakar Kamara tells us more.
We have 100 candidates. Out of the 100, we have 40.
Before continuing their tour in the Lower River region, business experts and Empretec project officials visited the Chairman Seat Multiplication Center in North Bank region. Their mission is clear: entrepreneurship with value addition services along the agricultural value chain, a practice widely noticed by Empretec project.
This project is timely and is very important. As I said in my introductory remarks, entrepreneurship is as old as mankind, and it is through entrepreneurship that we can build the economic foundation of a nation. So this is very important.
The Days Forum in Lower River region brought together project entrepreneurs and their business advisors, seeking to share experiences on best practices. To many, the idea of becoming a millionaire may seem a far-fetched dream, but if their experience are yardsticks, there is hope.
This one-day forum have boosted my morals once more, because Empretec trained me in December. I signed a contract to myself that my establishment must be confirmed by June. And Alhamdulillah, by June, I'm well established, well recommended, and my promotions are going well, not only nationally but internationally.
The program is excellent, is good. We appreciate the knowledge you gain, from the workshop. Together with the previous training from Empretec, we have vast knowledge about the training. We know that we'll have a significant benefit for us and for the rest of the community at large.
Empretec, as a project of hope with monitoring mechanisms quite new to many business outfits around the country, also has the aim of modifying behaviors for sustainable business growth and improving the lives of both the rural and urban poor.
We started the program barely about a year ago, and we had a target to train by this time about 300-400 entrepreneurs. And as of now, we have trained almost 700. But training is one thing, and application is quite another. So we thought within the program it was important to come and meet with the entrepreneurs, get an update as to how they feel about the project, what successes they have registered, what challenges they face. And overall, we have been quite impressed with the impact that the project has made on the lives of the entrepreneurs that have so far been trained, and they are basically, practicing what they have been taught in the entrepreneurship program.
Well, I'm very much happy that most of these people, both the boys and the girls and women, men, have been trained, and I think this will a lot of changes in this country in terms of, the economy of this region, because most of them are embarked in useful ventures that will help them to employ themselves and at the same time to help the development of trade in this region.
Emprotech Regional Forum continues in the West Coast region.
Within this point, you can see the nursery, some nursery,
Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
Ahead of what looks like a promising 2015-2016 tourism season, movers and shakers in the industry, including policymakers, have been recounting their experiences from the past season. While the all-important hospitality industry had to grapple with challenges triggered by the Ebola outbreak in a handful of countries in the sub-region. As Modu Bajan reports, the commonality among operators in the industry is a progressive 2015-2016, premised on such things like early arrivals.
The saying that birds don't fly when lightning and thunder strikes is not the case for Gambian tourism, which, despite suffering hitches due to the sub-region's recent Ebola crisis, displayed its rigidity. The Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Kodu Jabang, is among the endless, delightful and optimistic individuals ahead of a just-started tourist season.
Quite a lot of challenges were encountered last year. A lot of flight cancellations due to the Ebola epidemic that had hit the West African sub-region. We had obviously very low hotel occupancies, etc. But as I've said, the outlook is positive. We're optimistic.
In the words of tourism officials, the country's hospitality industry is continuously making headway, especially in the aftermath of the recent Ebola outbreak in the sub-region, and preparations, which did not overlook security, are in due course to do just that.
It's good for the Gambia in general. Actually, we have prepared, like I said, our museums are ready, our heritage sites are ready, Jufure Albreda is ready, the stone circles are ready. We are very much ready.
The Gambia emerged as one of the best tourist destinations when it comes to security, and having realized security need in terms of tourism, the Gambia Tourism Security Unit, we are fully prepared and readily equipped and await this moment.
Although the reasons for the industry's gains may not be far-fetched, Gambia Tourism Board's Marketing Director, Adam Anjay, dilates on some of the utilized mechanisms.
It ranges from joint marketing activities with our tour operators, and of course we also do some road shows, trade fairs of course, and one of the things that we strive at the moment is the e-marketing platform. I know for a fact Corendon, Sondios and most of the tour operators coming to Gambia, we're having something that we're doing together, ranging from outdoor and indoor marketing policies that we are putting in place. Everything that we are doing over the years is the same thing that we are actually replicating, but more on e-marketing platform.
Re-echoing the Gambia's tourism edge over competitors includes Mark Deslack, who tabled that it is not the only destination hit by the Ebola crisis, but efforts to reposition and even better arrival numbers is yielding fruit.
The Middle East and like Tunisia, Egypt, Greece, Turkey, they all suffer. We talk to tour operators in the Netherlands and convince them to sell the Gambia as a tourism destination. The Gambia is known as a very special destination for bird spotting. So with the National Bird Spot Association in the Netherlands, people come here to watch birds. And we invite celebrities, Dutch celebrities, to go and visit the Gambia.
The anticipated arrivals per week ranges between 24 to 27 flights per week. So yes, the season looks bright. The Nordics market is actually coming back. It's not actually new, but unfortunately because of the Ebola crisis, they cancelled their 2 flights last year. But they're coming back this season twice a week. And some of the new markets that we have in mind, of course, is the Russian market.
For a sector which is second to only agriculture regarding employment and GDP earnings, the likes of Omar Jallo and Anchasar, vendors at Bakau Craft Market, as well as tourist taxi driver Lamin Diboa, expressed cautious optimism about the future of Gambian tourism.
Last year we expected that the season will be one of the best, and it was announced that there's a sickness called Ebola. So by then, most of the people have already do their bookings, like the Scandinavians. At the end of the day, they have to cancel their flights. So it affects us a lot. This year, we're expecting the tourists.
Given the sector's significance, its movers and shakers again reiterated optimism of a promising tourist season as this year's first flight arrived earlier than usual.
Today we are very happy that Corendon has started for the first time in the history that Corendon is coming to the Gambia with bringing a flight so early in the season. And as a Dutch national, of course, I'm very proud that it's a Dutch airline that's coming here today.
After years of joint marketing campaign, the season now, as we stand for this year, we will be looking at minimum 24 flights, 27 flights per week last year. Hadn't been that Ebola struck. We were expecting 8-month season, but Ebola came, but that was the will of the Almighty this year. We are very optimistic that all the losses we have will be gained in 2015, 2016. We hope that all Gambians will support the drive of government as well as the institution responsible with the private sector to drive tourism in this country.
As the tourist industry continues to tackle challenges such as the retrogressive effects of Ebola, inclusive participation is perhaps more needed than ever for continuously uplifting one of the country's most valuable industries.
I've heard that they're really friendly, and from what I've seen, they're really lively and happy, and they know how to make good music.
Modu Bajan, GRTS.
The Directorate of Health Promotion and Education, under the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, in collaboration with Tango, recently concluded a 2-day Ebola sensitization forum. The conclave, as we hear in this report by Janke Toure, targeted members of civil society organizations from across the country.
Bid to continue its Ebola prevention strategies continued with another sensitization forum organized by the Ministry of Health in collaboration with Tango. The forum targets members of the civil society networks with specific focus on improving the culture of hand washing, which is one of the preventive methods one can use to prevent the spread of the disease.
Our main perspective is to strengthen or emphasize on the culture of hand washing, which is not only a disease preventive measure, but also will help in the transmission of diseases from one person to another, in which Ebola is no exception.
She, however, acknowledges the efforts that the Directorate of Health is playing in ensuring that information on various non-communicable diseases are spread in the country. She called on NGOs and other stakeholders to emulate the efforts of the Ministry of Health in dealing with health issues.
Tango is very pleased to acknowledge the steadfastness of this directorate. And I have to say that this is the first of its kind, even though Tango sit on many committees, on many national committees, and also on many boards, but bringing in Tango to be a stakeholder and also participating and leading an activity is the first of its kind. And we would like to say thank you to the Directorate, and also to call on all partners to emulate what the Directorate has done.
For his part, Sanjali Trawale of the Directorate of Health Promotion and Education said Ebola is a serious threat to humans, and to control its spread, he added, it is important to put in place effective measures to tackle the threat. The government of the Gambia, Sanjali added, is taking drastic measures to ensure that Gambia continues to be Ebola-free.
We want to take this approach, meaning that we want to engage everybody, government, civil society organizations, NGOs, grassroots structures. Even at village level, we've been engaging even the VDC representatives. Government is taking drastic measures, because that's why even our points of entry, we have representatives there working with the security officers to ensure that incoming passengers or people coming from especially affected countries are screened.
As teamwork and community participation are fundamental principles in health promotion, Mamadou Njai, the Director of Health Promotion and Education, Ministry of Health, commended Tango for helping in the improving the work of the Communicational Social Mobilization Subcommittee at the National Ebola Task Force. He stated that so many efforts have been made in creating awareness of critical health-related issues.
We have called you to come here. We know that we have done a lot of IEC. When I mean IEC, I don't mean Independent Electoral Commission, but I mean information, education, and communication. We have done a lot of that. We have raised awareness. We've informed people. We've educated them. Now we are into the BCC, Behavior Change Communication. But the BCC is not Banjul City Council. It's Behavior Change Communication. And we are now moving towards that to change people's behavior when it comes to reporting sickness at a time, because we know care seeking is always a problem in this country. People always seek care when the condition is late.
The Gambia is still Ebola-free, and the two-day forum focusing on hand washing, being one of the preventive tools, is seen as very vital in ensuring that the Gambia remains Ebola-free. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Janke Toure.
News from outside the Gambia is up next after this break.
How cool is your bank? Are you or your child guaranteed a future? You.
Me?
Yes, you. At Guarantee Trust Bank, current account holders can benefit from GT Bank's school fee advance service. This facility is offered to individuals in the employment of public or reputable private organizations whose salary are paid at GT Bank. The bank pays your university or your child's school fees directly, deducting it from your monthly salary. You can be eligible for this facility after 3 months of consistent salary payment into your account. Leased properties are acceptable to the bank, which can be used in the absence of a guarantor. All facilities are on merit and availability.
Okay.
This facility is strictly for the payment of school fees, both local and abroad.
Wow, GT Bank has done it again.
Indeed, yes.
GT Bank paying your school fee and my university.
GT Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Welcome back. The French, British and German foreign ministers met last night to develop a plan to end Syria's civil war, with a suggestion from Angela Merkel that Bashar al-Assad should be part of the negotiations, which was met with skepticism. Now there is disagreement within her own government, but one of the key players in the conflict, Russia. What role should Moscow play in ending Syria's factional conflict? This DW report tells us more.
Politics. What Vice-Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel announced in Berlin on Wednesday sounded like a turnaround on Germany's policy of sanctions against Russia. We need better relations with Russia, and everyone knows that you can't keep up permanent sanctions on the one hand, yet on the other expect cooperation. At the same time, about a mile away, the Foreign Ministry spokesman reassured the press that that's exactly what will not happen, giving up on Ukraine in order to get Russia on board for finding a solution on Syria. I cannot detect any sign among those who are dealing with the Ukraine portfolio that anyone is thinking along the lines of, let's give up on Ukraine and throw it to the Russian wolf, just so we can make some progress over Syria. I believe whoever suggests something like that is misassessing the situation.
Wer so etwas insinuiert oder behauptet, ich glaube, der verkennt die Lage.
Chancellor Merkel's announcement that defusing Syria could also mean once again sitting down at the table with Bashar al-Assad was widely understood. Her Vice-Chancellor's announcement that this could mean the end of sanctions against Russia is political dynamite.
And over now to sports. The Swiss Attorney General has opened criminal proceedings against FIFA President Sepp Blatter. He's already interrogated Blatter on suspicion of mismanagement and misappropriation. Swiss authorities today search FIFA headquarters and his offices. Blatter is not alone. UEFA chief Michel Platini has also been in the allegedly involvement. Blatter is suspected of making a so-called disloyalty payment of 2 million Swiss francs to Platini at FIFA's expense. For more, before we go, a reminder of the day's major stories. Movers and shakers in the country's tourism industry are targeting a progressive 2015-2016 season. Almost a year since the Ebola outbreak in few sub-regional countries sent ripple even in countries that were Ebola-free. Value addition of goods and services has gained prominence at a conclave for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in Mansa-Konko, Lower River region. French, British and German foreign ministers have met last night to devise a plan seeking to end the Syrian civil war. But the role of Russia in the factional conflict proved a major sticking point for the European powers. And Swiss authorities have opened criminal proceedings against FIFA President Sepp Blatter on suspicion of mismanagement and misappropriation, as UEFA chief Michel Platini also faced interrogation for a 2 million Swiss franc disloyalty payment allegedly made to him by Mr. Blatter. Well, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Enjoy the rest of our programs.